Oh, yeah. It's got live in here now. We're back. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox, here with my guest, Jose Franco. So a few things just transpired. You asked about Gary Vanerchuk. Love Gary Vanerchuk. Was into him when he was just a wine guy. When I was first getting on my feet selling wine, he was highly influential, but it was a short-lived affair. I watched him for a little while in the early days of YouTube. Then I got busy. I got really busy, and I didn't spend much time watching things or sitting at a computer. And then reacclimated with him less than a year ago, and has been a big contributor to why I was here. But we were also talking about I just stirred his pot a little bit. Some of the one of the brief things that I did where I worked for somebody else was I was in the ad sales division for BET, Black Entertainment Television.
There we go.
The token white dude. No, I'm kidding. There weren't many, but this was 2006. Yeah.
The good old days.
The good old days. They were at the top of the Viacom building, the MTV building in Times Square.
Okay.
So it was a cubicle gig, but not like I always said I'd never do that, but I walked into this place and I was like, I could do this.
Right.
When I poked my head up above my cubicle, I was looking at the top of the Chrysler building. And then if I looked to the left, I was looking at Central Park, and I looked behind me and I was looking at the Hudson from 1,000 feet. I was like, this cubicle is pretty cool. Yeah. And it was the media quad. So I had all the picture, video editing stuff. Like it was just like 4 computers and around, and there were a couple of us. I would do like sales reports and silly stuff like that. But sometimes it would just be like watching segments to see how many times a commercial came up, Anyways, I didn't love it. I felt it was inefficient. I love the people. They were great people. And I love the network, but it just wasn't for me. It was like a 9 to 7 gig.
Wow.
It was a lot of hours, but I don't mind working. I didn't like the stationary aspect of it. I was always hopping up and just running downstairs to get espresso. There were like 8 Starbucks just at the bottom of the building, and I was drinking triples like 5 times a day just to keep going. But I found a lot of inefficiencies, and I had no input and no control. And I really like being efficient. So one of the things I love about what people like Gary Vanerchuk are saying right now is you can market yourself, your brand, if it's your personal brand or your business or your businesses or a combination of all three, very efficiently, very economically, and you have the control. You have the artistic control. You have the funnel control. You can dictate where it goes. You can easily these days pick who gets to see it. You can it's almost like direct mail, but it's like direct to people that have shown interest through Google or their social media that they have an interest in this. So it's not just like blank canvassing, like, oh, let's throw this up here and hope people see it. Right. It's like this person has shown numerous times interest in XYZ. I happen to sell XYZ. Let's get a message to them or an ad, and you can see response rate too. It's really phenomenal. So the dude blows me away. I love his energy. I love his voice. Like I said, my wife can't stand his voice, and now my oldest daughter, who's helping me a lot with this stuff, she's like, "Oh, this guy again," and I'm like, which is funny because do you know who Jim Rohn is?
Jim
Rohn. He was like Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is like a protege of Jim Rohn. He worked with him a lot. And a friend of mine was like, oh, you should listen to Jim Rohn too. And I pulled the dude up and he's like, yes, so today, and I'm like, man, that voice doesn't resonate with me. It's all about who resonates with you. We talked about that earlier. And like Gary Vanerchuk gets me pumped, man. Yeah. I just hear his voice and I'm like, let's go to battle. Let's do it.
Well, I like the approach that he takes of setting like a pretty unsurmountable goal, as he's always saying he's going to buy the Jets.
Yeah.
And so he's painting pictures so that you can learn from that. So my thing that I tell people with business, it's the acronym. You mentioned control, which is the C. But the thing that ties into Gary Vanerchuk is also to blame for
Careful, he's not far from here.
No, but
he's listening.
But listen, he's also to blame for my political activism, because one of the things that I noticed, I don't I'm smart enough not to talk money, religion, or politics in my shop.
Right.
You know, I don't, because people
You gotta
just
be
want,
neutral.
right. They just give me my juice and get out my way. And I get it.
I'm the same way.
Right. But in the space of the political environment that's here, I said to myself, what better way to stir the pot, not to criticize anybody, but to run for office? So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to collect signatures.
You know, I thought I saw something about, I thought it was like, so I was like, no, that's another Jose Franco.
You thought you were hot.
That was, it's been a while, but I was just tired. That's funny. I did see that. And I was just like, what?
So what I did, so the first, let me touch on the acronyms and I'll get back to that point. So set the acronym, the C is for control. So pretty much it's, regardless of whatever business you're starting or whatever venture, how much control do you have? Whether
perceived or actual?
well, both. Both. Perceived, actual, along the lines of knowing your industry, your expenses, what the competition is doing. Then the second thing, the E, is entry. What are your barriers to entry? You know, it's easy to say, oh, I want to have this type of business, but how realistic are you to access the capital? Then the N is the, I think, who's the Houston Rockets owner? I forget his name.
Oh man, he was just on Vanerchuk's podcast. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Mark Cuban.
Oh, okay. Mark Cuban. No, somebody. I was thinking of somebody else.
Well, Mark Cuban, he phrases it differently, but the way he phrases it is the key to success is providing your customers what they want. So that's the end, need.
Yeah.
Is what you're selling something people need? You know, we can have the best of intentions, the concepts that we want to do, but if what we're selling, no one wants it, nothing's going to happen.
It's all about relevance.
Then the T is time. The T is your idea from the time of conception to the actual time of you fulfilling what you want to do. Do you have the time that there's still need for what you're offering? And then the S is scalable. Is it scalable? Because if it's scalable, but by scalable, I mean, is this something that you can package into a process and you can have other people do it and emulate? And when something is scalable, when you can make it a process, then it can spawn, then it can spread. So back to the thing with Gary Vanerchuk, I used to always see his thing with the Jets, and I'm like, yeah, he's come by the Jets. That's what they need. So I said to myself,
he thinks they need
too. So I said to myself, and it's I think imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery. How can I'm not looking to buy any team, and that would be so blatant. I said, you know what? I'm going to run for president, and in that, my whole platform is based on I point things out, but everything is based on self-reflection and asking people before they cast stones on anybody to take inventory. So one of the title of a book that I wrote, and it's
I wanted you to get to that. What's the story with the book?
So the book's a free download. It's pretty much, I wrote the book for myself. It's 104 pages, but the title is How Do We Get Better at the Things We Don't Think We're Bad at by 2020. And it's, the name says it all. One of the things, if we search for something on Google and we type something out and 20 things come up, when they come up, what we usually click on are the things that rationalize or are in line with what we already believe. So we're not learning anything. We're just,
it's the non-friction.
Right. We're just confirming what we want people to know. I'm swimming against that stream, and that's what I'm pushing and I'm promoting. And it's free. It's
interesting. That's a very martial arts based value.
You see that?
That's what it's all about. It's like one of the big ones is get comfortable being uncomfortable. So if you're in your comfort zone, your growth will probably be stunted. Where if you're like, okay, this is going to be the harder path. This is going to be the path of more resistance. Oftentimes the value derive from that is much greater.
Yeah, no, it's and I you know, aside, and it's funny because my wife is a listener, and she at times she wants to strangle me because she does not want any unwanted attention. And if anything, you know what, chances are,
does she know who she married?
but if I can just get one person to read it and there's a shift,
I'm definitely gonna read it.
There's a shift in them. That's possible because I have it on loop. I use this app called Voice Stream that I can listen to. You can read PDF, and I loop it all the time.
So before we end up today, tell us where you can get the book.
You can, if you go to stoopjuice.com, you can get, I have the 2 books. The first book is How to Get Better at the Things You Don't Think You're Bad at by 2020. And the other one is The Stories I Tell Myself. So pretty much, they're both pretty much the same book. They're just packaged differently, whichever title appeals to you.
Nice. Good. That's great. Yeah.
And you can just go to stoopjuice.com, or you can Google Stoop Juice book, but just go stoopjuice.com and it's on the first page. You
can also come into Stoop Juice. What's the address?
We're at 443 7th Avenue. We don't talk politics. I'm not having anybody sign anything in Stoop Juice or anything. So we're at 443 7th Avenue. It's on 15th Street, 7th Avenue in Park Slope, Brooklyn. I am a person that believes in universal love. I think that the best way to promote universal love is to show love to the people you least like. And if you can do that, then you give yourself the Iron Man argument, and it forces you to check yourself a lot more instead of putting up the straw man argument, because it's more, I try to avoid being a yes man, and that's how I try to lead my life. And I hope that I'm creating that type of energy in my shop. And I say to everybody, and I say this to all the people that come into my shop, I have love for all, but unfortunately I don't have time for all.
We're going to end with that because we out of time too. Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks again. Once again, I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox, my guest, Jose Franco. You've been listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. We'll see you next Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Talking Alternative Radio.